I've had the theory of non-persistence for quite a long time, but it took a change in my life circumstances to be able to make it more believable for myself. The change that occurred was divorce and no longer living in the same house as my child, and not having a career that was very attractive to me, because if you have any of those three things happening, then the myth of persistence, the story of being the same person yesterday and being the same person tomorrow, is very important to maintain, because that's how you do the things that you do in a marriage, as a parent, and in a job that you are passionate about. But this theory has helped me. It's not something that I'm probably going to discuss with many of my clients. The primary reason is that it is so easily misunderstood and misused. But if properly used, it can be very helpful. There's this common idea about unconditional self-love. You hear gurus and therapists talk about it often. But it is very difficult to access that if you have to deal with the story of the self, because you're loving this very complex thing, which is existing through time in a story, and that's a lot to wrap your head around in order to love it. Whereas with non-persistence, you're only here for a few seconds or a few minutes, maybe an hour. So the task of unconditionally loving yourself is much easier, because you're only here for a brief moment. There's not a lot of time for conditions to be met, and frankly, not a lot of energy for figuring out how to unconditionally love. So because you don't have a lot of time to figure it out, you just do it, right? If you have a story of, I'm going to be here tomorrow and the next day and the next day, and I got to figure out how to unconditionally love myself, you go through a whole process. But if you are only here for a few seconds, you got to get right to the job. And it's easy to love something that is about to fade, right? We see this in many areas, that you may not appreciate something until it's nearly gone, and including life itself. And so by the time this recording is finished, the person talking to you will be gone, and they'll be a new person.